Good evening. So we start, first of all, we do a prayer. What prayer actually means, putting our mind in the right state, removing all our afflictive emotion, negative mindsets. Well, when we look into our life, the first thing when we get up in the morning, the most important thing is oneself. You want to make money, you want to get this, you want to do this, all these things for oneself. So that is self-centered ego, which actually brings suffering to us, if you really look deeper. Anything which is lacking caring and compassion and self-centeredness brings suffering. All our suffering comes from that, actually. Self-grandizing, self-centeredness, self-absorbed, brings a lot of destructive quality. So, when we say we do prayer, how that prayer should be, the prayer should be open mind. Prayer should be that we see the negative qualities in our self-centered mindset, which we absorb, and change that motivation, the negative attitude, and bring some gentleness, some seeing, like myself, I want happiness, and I don't want suffering. All beings are same, regardless whether we're humans or animals, or even a little ant. As long as there is a consciousness, sentient inside, everybody wants happiness, period. There's no question of that. Oh, you deserve happiness because you are more intelligent, and someone else is less intelligent, so he or she doesn't deserve. There's never a question. Everybody wants happiness, and everyone has a right for happiness, including ourselves. And we also know a lot of time we don't, even the very thing that we all want all the time is happiness, but it's not happening into our life. We are faced with lots of adverse situation and lots of challenges in life. Lot of challenges. In fact, if you really look in 24 hours, how much peace did I have? Even you won't have for 5 minutes if you really look. Your mind is disturbed to some extent, either conflicted by this thought, or conflicted by this thought, or your relationship, or your this, or this, some kind of situation, always challenging and conflicting. And that's what makes it stress, that's what brings frustration, that's what brings tremendous, immense suffering. And then the next thing, how we try to work with that, is through more aggression. And then again, with that kind of aggression mindset, it leads to more aggression, and finally there's big chaos. Friendships are lost. A lot of problem happens in our life. We get very lonely, sense of loneliness comes. You can't trust anyone because you don't know how to trust yourself. The only mind we know all the time is this egocentric mind, which lacks gentleness, which lacks caring, which lacks compassion. So obviously, how can we expect happiness to come? When we talk about happiness, happiness is a question of mind. It's in the mind, not on the object on a building or on a stone or some. It's really a question of this mind. Who experiences happiness is the mind. Who experiences suffering is the mind. Who is confused is the mind. So therefore, what you have is the mind, and who you are is the mind. So now you have to know your mind. So as a method, we need method now how to make the mind into more openness and more gentle and more compassionate and more caring. You need a method, something to begin with. So we say prayer. It is a start. It doesn't mean things will change right after you do a prayer. It is a start of something. And here in this case, start of seeing definitely my self-absorbed, self-centered mind is really my enemy. My source of happiness can only come from a kind-hearted, open-minded, a gentleness quality, but it cannot come from a self-centered, absorbed state of mind. In fact, that mind makes you more insecure. It brings all neurosis. It brings all afflictive emotion. Because insecure, confused mind attracts insecure, confused mind. It doesn't attract open and gentleness, kindness. So we are constantly absorbed into that. We absorb during the daytime, the cycle of the day, and we absorb during the cycle of the night, in our dreams too. We just do the same pattern of how you engage with yourself in your environment of dream. The same thing, the same mind you carry on wherever you are, whether it's good or bad or confused or not confused, wherever you are, it comes with you like a shadow. So we need to change. Can we change that? Definitely we can change. Because all those afflictive emotion, confused mind, do not really have a solid base. While the openness and kindness have much, it has a full, valid ground, and the moment you see the afflictive emotion is wrong, it loses its power. So that's how the mind can, basically a lot of our situation, mental situation can be solved within our mind. We think that, okay, outside material can solve. Yes, material can solve to a certain extent, but it cannot really solve the whole thing because it's a mental thing. Happiness is a mind thing, and sadness is a mind thing. So mind problem has to deal with the mind. Mind problem cannot be dealt with material. His Holiness Dalai Lama has a very good example. Let's say for a lady, going through a difficult day, and she has like 10 carats diamond ring. So when you're really suffering, you lick the diamond, is it going to make you happy? It's not going to make you happy. In fact, it could cut your tongue. So what can really make you happy is knowing your mind, how to deal with your mind. So the practice of meditation becomes extremely important, understanding the mind and your attitude, how you carry yourself. That's very important. So when we do prayer, I said we start with a prayer. Usually I start the practice of meditation evening with a prayer. We pray that our mind may turn into gentleness, into kindness, into openness. And I think those qualities are very important, how we carry our life and what kind of life we want in ourselves. So it should be prayer of the heart. Prayer should be basically removing the afflictive emotion. That's really the main point of the prayer. And it's a start. As I said, the prayer wouldn't change you right away, but it's a start how you focus. And then day to day in your life, you need to practice when adversary situation comes to you, let's say someone challenge you, we need to have patience. We need to have these stronger qualities of forgiveness, patience, forgiveness. I think very powerful. There's a saying in the spiritual tradition, in Buddhism, and I guess in many other traditions, if someone asks you forgiveness, first of all, to do something wrong is not the right thing. But then if someone asks you forgiveness, if you don't forgive, then who is wrong? The one who doesn't forgive. I think we need to keep that in mind. We have to be, because then you are holding the anger in yourself. What good does it do? It leads more insecurity, more neurosis, more sense of suffering to oneself and others. So I think those are spiritual practice mean working with oneself. That's what spiritual practice is. There is no other spiritual practice beside that. And then finally you could completely free yourself from those neuroses, and you gain freedom from that, a liberation from that. That is what is known in Buddhist teaching, nirvana, or liberation from the cycle of neurosis. And then you see basic goodness in yourself. And that basic goodness, everyone has a basic goodness. Everyone has enlightened quality. It's simply right now obscured, not able to see that. But the moment we can all see the qualities within us, awakening into that quality is what is meditation into action. Awakening into that quality, what we could say, an enlightened quality in us. Something like that. So we will do a prayer. Please join with me first. What you need to focus, look at your mind. Watch your mind. There is one very profound teaching. I don't have the text here with me, but by my teacher. And it's something you need to really think about it. Because our normal way of thinking is quite different. And here the phrase of the prayer is, please bless me so that I can look at my own fault. Please bless me not to look at the fault of others. That's the two sentences. What we do usually, we look at fault of others all the time, then obviously your mind's going to get more aggravated and very judgmental and very righteous, and puritanicalism all comes out of that kind of mindset. And even you have a mistake like a mountain, you don't see that. The others have like a dewdrop, you see that so big. And then you blame them. You did this. This is happening all the time, finger pointing. Obviously we're going to be neurotic. Chaos happen out of that. Then suffering to oneself happens, suffering to others happen. But if you study yourself, you should be open. It's not a question of escaping. Looking at oneself, which is the main weakness in yourself. Anger, jealousy, hatred. We have all those qualities. We have. If there is ignorance, there is naturally neurosis. If there is neurosis, these are the tentacles of neurosis. And those are the very cause of our suffering. Nobody else makes suffering. To say some kind of demon with a horn, yes, you can shut the door, and today you can buy steel door or bank vault, you can put yourself in. If that's the case, no one can come in. But that's not the case. The demon inside ourselves, our own ego, our own afflictive mood, that is the biggest thing that we really have to be aware of. In fact, there's a saying that our afflictive emotions, neurosis, what job assignment it is, for example, the assignment, what business that it carries on, or what works it carries on, is to give you pain and suffering all the time. That's the only job neurosis have. It has no other business. That's why we have to, this is our inner enemies. Inner enemy, this aggression and neurosis, is what we should really be aware of. Because it only has one purpose, and that is to give you suffering all the time. It has no other work beside that. Therefore, it's called, in the Buddhist teaching, the Nyumungpeda, the enemy of afflictive emotion. There is no other negativity than that, because it brings you suffering. All your present suffering comes from that. So if you want to stop the suffering, you need to eliminate the cause of suffering. Buddha gave the teaching, Four Noble Truths. He never said, first thing he never said, there is, I will take you to salvation. It doesn't work that way. Well, it didn't work. We're all here. No, but any claim one can make, but things are quite different in reality. The reality is, if there is, Buddha said first, recognize the suffering. Noble truth, that is, there is suffering, to speak there is truth. Instead of saying, I will take you to salvation, that is not really, addressing the situation. Addressing, yes, there is suffering. First noble truth. Second noble truth, if there is a suffering, there is a cause to that. And what is the cause to that? The root cause is ignorance and afflictive emotion arising out of that. That is the cause, second noble truth. Third truth, now how do you stop the suffering? By cessation. The noble truth of cessation means you stop the cause to that, which is afflictive emotion, then the suffering will stop, because the very cause of the suffering is afflictive emotion. The third noble truth. Fourth noble truth is the path. Well, you have a choice. You have a choice to continue your giving up, surrendering to self-centered ego, or you have the choice to change yourself. Especially as a human being, we have this special intellect to analyze, to check. We have so much in our mind or brain or heart or whatever you called it. Basically, it's the mind itself. One doesn't really distinguish in the ancient Buddhist tradition, doesn't say brain and heart. One doesn't distinguish like that. It's consciousness, basically, mind. Well, mind is a very deep subject. The reason it doesn't, separate, like I think in the Western science, it says about brain, which makes all the analyzing. I think it's just a term, maybe, you can't take that serious, go to the extreme, because even a dead person has a brain. If the brain is the one which is thinking, then dead person has a brain. If you cut the brain, cut the head open, there's a brain inside the dead. There's no useless. Even Einstein's brain is useless now. It's just like in a glass, that's it. People can study it, but there's no awareness in that. Mind is gone out, his consciousness is not there. There's no theory coming off a dead brain of Einstein's these days. No new theories. So basically it's the mind. So we have this mind which can analyze, which can see this suffering, which experience suffering, can see what causes the suffering. And we need to check that. We have to check. No one can do that for you. You're the only person who can do it for yourself. Your father can't do, your mother can't do. Even you go to a teacher, they can explain, but you need to work with your mind. No one can work for your mind on your behalf, in other words. If you want to do a practice of meditation, you need to do that yourself. So it requires a sense of willingness to be open and work with yourself. Is the first step to a spiritual practice. And spiritual practice it's not about worshiping something. It's basically work with yourself. That's what spiritual practice is about. Working with your neurosis, working with your mind, working with your confusion, working with your anger. That's what spiritual practice is about. There's no other spiritual practice beside than that. So I gave you a brief explanation about what prayer would mean. So now let's all tonight, this session of teaching on meditation, which we will do later, I will explain about meditation. But first we need to have open mind. Open your mind. The only thing you need to open mind doesn't mean you open the mind to become something. Not to become Buddhist, or not to become this, or not to become that. Simply open your mind. See your own afflictive emotion, that you need to be free from that. That's what is required. There's no conversion in Buddhism, actually. Buddhism is basically working with your own afflictive emotion, how you work. That's what means Buddhism means awakening. Awakening from the self-absorbed state and finding and discovering one's profound primordial nature. That's what it's about. So working with yourself. So first we will do now prayer. The prayer is from the heart, means really now, heart means the most you cherish the love. And one you love the most is yourself. Now how should you love yourself? Question is, you should love yourself not with afflictive emotion. You need to see those faults and remove that and bring compassion, caring. And normally people also, the prayer seems to be extending tonight. Maybe it's okay. You need to understand that more, I'm sure you all have done a lot of prayers. Now I forgot what I was trying to say. So, let me think. I was about to say something. Anyway, so let's do prayer now. Okay. Om Nasi Namdara Jenu Rupe, Taji Joju Jina Jubayi, Sange Jodangindu. Kunla Chazeta Jata Shisho, the major president and Rugo, Chambe Yimba Gata Patamba, Kuna Gumba Jojit. Lumbo Darbasera Bedani, Simjetum Jelagung Tapepe, Yizim Zebaterap Double Day, Zim Debate. The Warshipwa Yala, Jazalo, Jambejono, Baldendo Jezi, Jerezi Wangumbo Jambepe, say you put it. Numgin Boba Jokundu Zang, Upedu Pega Lucinda, no Boda Water Dimai, Chaselum. Janjusem Bagala, Chazalo, Dunjin the Jotaji Serginia, Dunjubozayon, Kamala, Yendodunda. Minu Yazim when Yorokolo, the Dunjin the Joji Shadenje, Chudu Yawachu Jengijama, the song of Dimbe. Trashela Mongela, Chazalo, Samba Jumbo de Jungsemepo, Midon and Nanjabu. Pakibota, Lua Mimiza, Namde Sitela Zekolo, Tissue Ladan. Bewater teacher thing is in the Sasumness or collect the Jipe, Jide, one Gela, Chazalo, Dajet in the ritual. Get on your words of Wakunjine, to them, Bebe, some to Asian troop, Tashi de Lepusum Super Show, Dajet in the ritual. Get on your words of Wakunjine, to them, Bebe, some to Asian troop, Tashi de Lepusum Super Show, Dajet in the ritual. Gedanya Warzawa Kunjine, the Nebe some de Asian Drup, Tashi de Leposum, so but a show. Jumnende para gumbo jizin jambe yana cha salo, Kangilo de meeting in the Danum that observe, Chingy to go chizin you get the word. When I say Bezara Mari, Mundum Dunga, Gizave, Tozokuna, Puji, the Zayana to Jay and the Zung, to the Chato Numunil. To the Jay, Marie Muse Dunganugu, Jingy Josera Denam, then is a choose a Jew to the Indian Sajazit. Judajuda, Jungin Yonder Dalo Mose, Jampariona, the Umarapazanadi, Marapazanadi, Marapazanadi, Umarapazanadi, 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 Umarapazanadi. Kurgum the day, Jay, Pau, Petana, Shera, Retenum, Lepons, Miajuku, Composure, Yonaja. Gazetta Barda, Baum, Jose, Tiberdona, young, Composure me. Came a parion to Marsho, Consetta Barda, Baum, Jose Tibber. Game Composure me, came a parion to Marsho, Consetta Barda, Baum, Jose Tiberdona, young. Came a parion to Marsho. Thank you. Dear, Buddhist teaching generally, foundation of Buddhist teaching is Four Noble Truths, which I explained very briefly earlier. And I would suggest you these days now on YouTube, you can really see the teaching in detail by His Holiness Dalai Lama on a very good translator on Four Noble Truths. It could help you. So I just explained briefly what Four Noble Truths is. And now there are four pillars of Buddhist teaching, it says. The four pillars is, it says all conditioned phenomena is impermanence. So if you look at your body is a conditioned phenomena. Your body is collective aggregates of form, feeling, perception, I think impulse, I'm not sure that English word, impulse, consciousness. If you look at the body itself, the mass of body is like billions of particles. And those are all conditioned. It can decay, impermanence. The reason it can decay because there's no inherent quality in particles. That's why it decays. Energy. Today, if you look at the science, quantum physics theory, it says probability. There's no one says independent atom. Atom is a probability. The very subtlest level of atom, you may know better the words, what is called, but basically the atom, the scientists have been trying to discover what is known as a God particle, an independent particle, in fact, which exists inherently, permanently. But when you really look into, even Stephen Hawking, I remember when in Switzerland, in the Bern, where there was that, where did they research? They said they did discover God particle. But when they really look what that God particle was, it's a probability. There was no independent, it was a probability. Because I also thought there cannot be an independent particle, a God particle as such, because for years and years in all the quantum physics theory, scientists could not find an independent particle. It's waves. Waves mean interdependent. Doesn't mean independent. Probability means interdependent. Doesn't mean independent. If there is independent, that means there is no direction. An atom has to have a direction. It's conditioned. To have an atom without direction is impossible. When we see an atom, whether it's big like a universe or tiny as the particle, it has 10 directions. Up, below, center, east, west, south, north, all directions. All directions supporting each other. But there is no, if it's independent, it should be such that you can't even imagine without direction. There is east because there is west. You can see the east because there was west. So east is supported by the west. We say right because there's a left. If there's never a right, how can there be left? It's a label. So all facets come due to interdependence. And anything which is interdependent lacks inherent quality. Whether it's objective, including our emotions, subjective, when you analyze. So therefore, there is no such thing as eternal bad, or there is no such thing as eternal good in a sense on the extreme level. Now don't get me wrong, we can say, oh, what about great enlightened beings who have great compassion and wisdom? We are not, let's first, before we get to that, let's a little bit analyze emotions, as well as the objects of form, which is particles, your body, your masses of your body. Billions of particles come together, then what appears as you, with your consciousness, feeling, perception, all those manifest. You know how much feeling changes in our life. Feeling changes every second. Our body is decaying every second. We are getting older every second. Maybe we don't want to hear that. You all look wonderful and beautiful, but we're decaying every second. We can't stop the time. It's going. It's the speed of light. It's just going. So it's therefore conditioned. Condition means there's no unconditioned. Condition means interdependent. Condition never means independent. All phenomena is conditioned. Whether it's external phenomena, mountain, ocean, trees, whatever is conditioned. Internal subjective also, your emotion constantly changing, never remain the same. You like some person in the morning, the same person in the afternoon, you maybe have something in between. In the evening, maybe you don't like, and then maybe you again like. It's constantly changing. You cannot rely. Your emotions are changing. You even don't know what you think of yourself also. It's conditioned. So constantly changing. And the change, we can say, oh, well, I was a young boy before, and then I've grown up, and then someday I get old, then I die. That's a gross way of approaching impermanence. But where did the growth begins? The question is, where it starts. The growth starts at the fundamental level. It's 1 cent. When it becomes 100 cents, it's become dollar. But if there's 1 cent missing, it's not a dollar. It's accumulation of that. Same thing, the decays are happening momentarily, every moment to moment. And it's so fast we are not seeing it, but it does happening. So now then the question of, because it's conditioned, we are talking about change, we have to look at a fundamental level. The change is happening on a fundamental level because fundamental level itself is impermanence. If the fundamental or the first second is not impermanence, no change, let's say no change, If the first second is not change, how can the second become change? Cannot happen. If the first second being unchanged, which means unconditioned, which means not interdependent, then the second change, how can become interdependent? Independent and interdependent, totally two different things. They're different, completely different character, different entities. Cannot happen. So, since everything is conditioned, Buddhist teaching, in Buddhism, there is no creator. Buddhist teaching doesn't believe in a creator. These Buddhist 4 pillars of Buddhism explain all conditioned phenomena is impermanence. They decay. Like there's a birth of a star, and then first is the creation, gradual creation, then it's existing period, duration of the time, eons or billions of years or whatever. Then there's a decaying time, and then there is over. Same thing if you look at your emotion, your lifetime. You enter into some situation, and then it remains for a while, and then there's a decaying time, and then there's nothing, and then you start over again something. Because it's a condition. So all phenomena is conditioned. That's the first pillar of Buddhist teaching. Second pillar, all afflictive emotions are suffering. There's the second pillar of Buddhist teaching. All afflictive emotion. Then what is afflictive emotion now? And this goes even further deeper. Because now it's come really to your mind. You know, your biggest possession of yourself, you can say, is my mind. This body, when you die, you have to leave it. Even we love this so much, you know, we wear these fashionable clothes, or, you know, or this style, or that style, or, you know, all kinds of things. But when we die, it will be left. Even the one you cherish the most, you have to leave it. No one can take. Everything. You have to leave, even what you think of yourself, you have to leave. As stages goes, you know, that will wither away, and then you pick up a next state of like image of yourself, whatever that is. Such as it's happening, in fact, you know, it's happening to us every day, in fact. Some situation we enter, it dissolves, then we pick up a new one, and then it goes, it's constantly changing. And when it's happened, change, when there's a change, actually there's nothing wrong, it's more openness. If there is no change, if you're crying, you'll be crying for eternity. Or if you're laughing for eternity. And you know, if you have a friend who's laughing for day and night, at some point you may get like, oh, wait a minute, you may not like it. Laughing gas, you may begin to wonder, you know, this may be a laughing gas. I was in India, and I went to this Tibetan doctor. So I said, in America, there's a lot of flu, winter flu, very bad. Please give me some good medicine. Did North Korea did that? He said, North Korea, he was joking to me. So if a person is laughing all the time, we may think, oh, there's a laughing gas or some kind of drug. You know, so openness has so many facets. And that facet also involves gentle, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, change of beautiful things to happen. And it could finally lead us completely out of all our insecurity. So what I want to say here, the second pillar of Buddhism, all afflictive emotion is suffering. Then we have to really look at the fundamental level. Where does afflictive emotion comes from, and what causes afflictive emotion? And then you look into your mind. There's nowhere else to look beside yourself. Where does my anger come from? If you really look, at some point you say, I don't know where it comes from. It's there. If you really look, I just don't know. You can say, I don't know. But then if you really look, you see it's coming from a notion of some kind of self. And this self, where does it really come from? You look further deeper, it comes from a sense of insecurity. You need to cling to yourself. You need to grasp to yourself. You need to get attached to yourself out of fear. There's more fear related in that than openness. And then it's a byproduct of that ignorance. The ignorance creates that illusion of I syndrome. And that I makes you uncomfortable. You know, anyone with a big ego, nobody likes. We all know that. It's difficult to be friends with a person with a big ego. It's very hard to live around a person who's self-absorbed and self-centered. Not many friends. People don't have many friends with someone who is self-centered and self-absorbed. That person is very selfish. He or she wants everything for herself, no regard for their friendship, no regard for the people around them, no regard for environment, nothing, just self-absorbed. And the very cause of the self-absorbed is created this, sense of insecurity. That's what is known ignorance. One doesn't know sense of ignorance. And you need to feel like it needs to feel you need to protect it. Instantly there's a defensive and offensive nature to that self-centered ego. Anything you feel like danger to your existence, you fight, you make a war, you try to grab others' territory. Whether it's your friend, family, whatever environment, you try to grab that territory, and then you try to. And the more you try to do, deep inside there's tremendous agony and there's tremendous suffering. And we have seen that in the history with dictators, with tyrants, all kinds of things. And even a family, the person who tried to rule their own idea, my way. Those who have too much my way, then their friends go to the highway. Not much friends. My way, they were highway. Highway, yes. No one. Then self left alone. Loneliness. So there's a lot of destructive quality in this self-centered I, ego. And then all afflictive emotion comes one after another, one after another. So the second pillar is all afflictive emotion is suffering. As I said, the afflictive emotion is only one job. Their job is to give you pain and suffering, nothing else. It does nothing. You need to check in your mind. It does nothing just to give you pain and suffering. That's all. As long as you keep that, its role is just to give you suffering. That's it. So all afflictive emotion is suffering. Then the third pillar is called the nature of all phenomena is emptiness. Doesn't mean things disappear in the sky. Emptiness means devoid of any self, devoid of any self. So then, shouldn't we not know things? Or what about Buddhists just think everything is empty in the sky and nothing else? And that's a danger to misunderstand emptiness. Emptiness doesn't mean there's nothing exists. Emptiness means there is no self into thing, but is there awareness? Yes, the awareness itself is very open, but awareness is not insecure, it's not a state of insecurity that it needs to hold that identity to the extent it gets to the extreme where you become self-centered and self-egoistic. That's what it will. So it's the opposite. In fact, it's the power to free that confusion, free that ignorance, free that all. You have the natural quality in yourself. You have not seen that. It's not something you are buying from Buddhism, this idea. It's there already existing in your mind. You can see whenever there is ego, it's uncomfortable. If it's uncomfortable, it's not something wrong there. You don't feel comfortable. Even a person who is very self-absorbed doesn't feel comfortable. Let's not talk about people around, environment around. So what does that tell? Something is not right there. Something is not right with our anger. Something is not right with all our afflictive emotion that needs to be freed or purified, needs to be worked on. So what the third pillar is, all phenomena is devoid of inherent existence, emptiness. Doesn't mean things not there, but devoid of inherent, like self. Right now we are clinging to self of everything. When we think anger, oh, you're my enemy. And we're so self-absorbed in that ignorance, thinking that is, day and night we think that your enemy has no other job besides hating you day and night. But that's not true. Your so-called enemy also loves to have fun, go to, a nice island, and, walk around and have fun. They don't think of you all the time. But our mind thinks, my enemy is nothing other than hating me all the time. That's how we are confused in grasping to phenomena. So a lot of superficial emotion we make up. I think 90% of the time we make things up, how we portray other people. 90% we just put things on people, wrong misunderstanding all the time because of our own self-centeredness. So we need some kind of letting go. That's why forgiveness becomes very important, deep healing for us. We can move forward. We can have others move forward in their life, and we can have ourselves move forward in our life in a very compassionate environment, and caring and loving and joy to all, which we all want. But we do the opposite. We just hold with so much grudge, no forgiveness. And in fact, it's like eye for an eye. Gandhi said, Mahatma Gandhi said, if eye for an eye is the answer, the whole world will become blind. Really. So that's not the way. We have seen war in Iraq and Iran, on religious fundamentals, going for 8 years. Did they resolve? No, they still hate each other. I think sometimes religion, in the name of so much war has been there, and it's so sad. The real war, if you want to make, is to make to your afflictive emotion, with seeing with wisdom and liberating that. We're doing the wrong kind of looking at others' fault and judging and going, never-ending problem. It didn't end in the yesterday problem. Since you're born until today, problem has been there. In fact, as we grow older, we get more complex, more sophisticated problem, more sophisticated thing. And the problem is existing yesterday, problem is existing today, problem will exist tomorrow also. It won't go away. We can wish it may go away, but it won't, unless you make a fundamental change in yourself. So the third pillar of is the seeing the nature of all phenomena into emptiness, devoid of any inherent existence. When you say the devoid of inherent existence, all aggression goes away. What's the benefit of seeing that? You see, there's no really that kind of anger as you think, or to the objective, that person also, don't have that basis to continue. Then your mind begins to see more open. You begin to easily forgive. You begin to, dance, rather than there's like everything become like a solid ice and sharp edges, which is going to cut and burn and bring injuries. It's like, it seems like sometimes our mind is living like in an ice rather than in a fluid nature. For example, what is the cause of the eyes? Where does the eyes come from? Eyes, very root cause is water, which is very gentle. We drink, quench our thirst, and it's the survival thing, and we can joyful. But when the ice is frozen, if you try to drink, you will choke to death. Its edges can be so sharp, it can cut you like a knife. When the mind gets confused, it becomes like that, ice. Instead of its primordial quality, natural quality. There's no natural. Ice is not natural. When you make a freezer, put that, you're making artificial ice. And it's very sharp, cutting. So something like that. You need to find your natural mind, natural quality. So I think tonight meditation, we will try to engage to our natural mind. So now the third pillar is, and then the fourth one is nirvana is peace. When you see the truth, then there's liberation from afflictive emotion and ignorance, then there is peace, freedom. So now, how do we do all this thing? One is through study, one is through practical meditation practice. Now, what do you do in meditation? Do you may think, oh, if I'd, what special mind should I think? There's nothing special to think about when you do meditation. You are who you are. So here you're sitting. Important thing how you sit first is you sit in a comfortable posture with a loose pant, usually in your home, skirts, loose pants, nothing tight. And your hips should be slightly supported up. Best is to sit in a sitting posture. If you want to sit on a chair, fine, but sitting posture is more beneficial because your hip should be slightly up. And then your shoulders not up tight, not pushing down, just natural. Just sit natural. And then your body should be straight, back should be straight, like an arrow. This is straight. Now, once the body becomes straight, then what happens is, when the body is straight, all the energies which flows through your channels, they become upright, straight. Energy flows in the right balance. Because the mind and energy and body have a connection, supposing you check, if you try to do meditation lying on a sofa, within 15 minutes you will be snoring. You see, the mind and body is not complementing each other. So when you sit like this, straight, either your hand here, like straight here, or like this, then your mind becomes clear. You see, that's the first step in meditation. The posture of the meditation, half of your meditation is brought through the posture itself. If the posture is not right, then the whole thing will not be right afterwards. If the posture is right, it supports the whole practice of meditation. So then sit straight. Now your eyes should not be looking up. I should slightly look down, like touching on the tip of your nose, almost just gently touching on the tip of your nose. And now you should say, in my body is my mind. No, first of all, Zafutan, this is a Japanese word, I think, Zafutan, the sitting square. Tibetan called Gomden, or meditation seat, whichever, doesn't matter what language we use. So on this meditation seat is my body, you should say. In my body is my mind. Mind relax. Now, you see, that's how you begin. Let me repeat once again. On the meditation cushion is my body. In my body is my mind. Now mind relax. Not like nervous and jumping here and there. Now your mind relax. Like you drop something. Drop it. Drop the whole thing. Drop your thoughts, emotion, everything. Just simply drop it right there. So then, now the method, how you will bring forth the, in mindfulness, bring forth your mind to a state of calmness and to realize openness. You need, first of all, a mindfulness. So mindfulness here, including earlier what we said, there is a mindfulness too. On the cushion is my body, in my body is my mind, and mind relax. That kind of mindfulness. And then, now you go to the breathing. Of course, breathing is natural. You don't have to make any special effort to that. When you breathe out, your mind is with the breath. When you breathe in, your mind awareness is with the breath. Mind awareness, same thing, no difference. So, breathe out, you're with the breath. Breathe in, that's it. So then, of course, when you do that, a thought will arise. It's not that thoughts will cease to function. Either some neutral thought, a good thought, a bad thought, or any kind of thought. Maybe you may have a thought, oh, tomorrow what I have to do? I have to meet my friends, or, I should go and eat this, or do this, or something, some kind of thought. Or thought of the past, a memory of some kind. Or thought of the future, oh, this could happen, anticipating the thought of the future. So when that happens, during sitting practice or meditation, your mindfulness has to know the thought is coming. Whatever the thought is, it is just simply a thought, and you let go. You don't connect one thing to the next and next and next, like a bead, like a wheel spinning around. Then you'll be lost. You'll be lost in the past, you'll be lost in the future, and you're no longer here. The point of meditation, your body, your mind is in your body, and body, and the mind relax. Here and now, at this very moment, here I am. You no longer will be able to do that if you are just running after your thoughts. So now you are there, and you are with the breath. And you breathe out, breathe in. You don't have to chase yourself with the breath going out and then, trying to catch yourself with the breath. No need to do that. Just simply with the breath. And then when you do that, it should not be, when you do that, your eyes should not penetrate. Eyes should be like about 2 meters, 2 meters. Not far away, penetration. No absorbing inside. Should be completely open, natural. And then when you breathe out, breathe in, and then thoughts will come. You should not suppress the thought. If you try to think nothing, that's not the right way. In fact, if you try to stop thinking, it will make you stupid. Mind will become stupid. There's a saying, the meditation of bear and meditation of groundhog, they stand up, they don't know what's going on, like self-absorbed. Not that kind. Mind should be open. No suppression. It should recognize thought, but not try to, oh, this is a bad thought, I should suppress. This is a good thought, I should keep. Then if you accept and reject, then both accept and reject will completely make you lost. Whether it's good thought or bad thought, doesn't matter. It's just simply a thinking thought. And you see that and you let go. That's the method. You need to do that. And sometimes a lot of thoughts can come. You cannot even control your thoughts, like a waterfall. Then what do you do? If you try to stop that, again, it will not stop. It will, in fact, anything you try to stop, it will get even more reaction. It's like someone telling you not to do it, you want to do it more. It's like no suppression has ever worked in the history of mankind. Communism tried to suppress religion, it's never worked. Dictators try to suppress this, it never worked. You try to suppress something, it just revolt, there's revolution happening. No, you don't have to suppress. You just simply see and allow it. Allow it, but don't go after it. Allow that, see that, but don't get distracted by that. And then, as you keep doing every day, let's say 15 minutes, 1 hour, half an hour, whatever, at some point you will see a change happening. Your mind more open, more inquisitiveness, more intuitive, more clarity, more joy. The things which bothers you no longer bothers you. And then able to focus. Tremendous blessing. Even today scientists say that it reduces their blood pressure, builds up the immune system, your joy, happiness, creativity, tremendous benefit through the practice of meditation. But you must do it right. Without doing it right, if you do it the wrong way, then it can also not beneficial. So anyway, so now we will do like that. You will sit, you with the breath, and no preference to good thought or bad thought. There's a saying in meditation, whether you get bitten by a red dog or whether you get bitten by a white dog, the injury is same. No difference. So whether you're caught up with a good thought or whether you're caught up with a bad thought, you're simply caught up, and it will make you, get completely lost. So just it's very comfortable, be natural, and open eyes, again, no closed eyes. Many people meditate with eyes closed. Maybe sometime, but it's not good. Because again, there's a sign of suppression. Seeing the world is more scary because that shows how much fear we have in our mind. So when we want to feel peace, we close ourselves and just remain in a closet. It's a sign of fear. Open up. You need to face the fear. You should not run away from fear. And actually, there is no fear. So you just remain naturally. Okay? So we will do that now. Just relax your mind. Just think. You don't have to put any kind of pressure on your mind. Just stay natural, for a few minutes. Just relax. See, when you're trying to sit and meditate, of course, there's the method, how you need to get to work with your mind. But at the same time, at the beginning, there's like a little tightness. The beginners, meditators always have like, you're trying to be really focused. That focusing is like a screwdriver, it makes your mind tight sometimes. So after you drop the meditation, then it's like you're free. You see your mind more open, relax. So as you get used to it, it will get more and more open. So anyway, you can stretch your legs if you like, and then we will have a question and answer period now. If you have any questions. Anybody like to have question? Jim, please bring the speaker, microphone.
Good evening, Rinpoche. I wanted to see if anybody else wanted to go first, but as I meditate, I'm in the experience. I'm trying to focus on my breath, trying to be aware, trying to observe my thoughts, and sometimes I'm good about it, and then other times I get completely carried away. And so I guess sometimes I just get frustrated with that fact that I understand it's kind of the tendency of the mind to do that, but yeah, I mean, how do we just be patient with the process, or do you have any suggestions or any tips about that?
Any tips? Yeah, good question anyway. So, you see, when you're sitting, like when you're engaging with people in your job or something, then there's a lot of pressure that you have to, engage in certain ways, right? So that put pressure in your mind. But when you're sitting, there's no one you have to answer. You did bring that. You don't have to prove to anyone. Of course, you should not be, that doesn't mean that you should be distracted or, or there are like mistakes of meditation, drowsiness, too much thoughts arising. You need to work with them. But at the same time, when the mind begins to get a little tense, you need to say, there's no one I need to prove. Neither yourself nor to anybody. You just remain there. With your awareness. Then that kind of frees you from trying to be too good. When you try to be too good, as we say, it's too good to be true. So that brings, that kind of little bit unpleasantness. You lose patience. So there's also saying meditation should be done with a focus, but a little careless. Carefree, not careless, carefree. If you try to be too focused, then it's like you love your mind too much. You're not letting it free. You're too attached to your mind. You should be a little carefree. Then the mind will get open. Carefree. Actually, one has to sit and sit and sit. There are a lot of, because we are used to habits. Our mind is so used to habit of being distracted, it will not stay for a long time. The moment you try to sit, it will just start to have, wavering thoughts. So you have to sit and sit and sit and sit. At some point, the mind will get grounded. Right now, the mind just jumps out of your mind. You are here, but your mind is there, your mind is there, your mind is there. It's scattered mind. So when you sit, the mind is getting there. So at the same time, it's feeling a little bit like you're trying to discipline the mind, and then it's getting impatient to get out. So how do you deal with that? You just say, just open. Even yourself, you don't have to, as I said, you don't have to, build pressure to prove it. A little carefree. If it happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, fine. So then it will open up. But if you try to be too careful, then again, that's not the right way of practicing meditation. Because the final point is to free the mind.
I have a second question. I struggle with insomnia, and the way I see it is that the blame for that, the cause of that, is the neurotic mind. It's the fact that my mind is not calm, that my mind is always thinking, that it's concerned about worries or whatever I have to do, or to-do lists, or whatever it is, work, family, or whatever. So likewise, I mean, what are your thoughts about people who struggle with insomnia in general, and then how do we work with that?
I think meditation is a very good method, again, to healing that. Because your mind is disturbed, your mind is not grounded. You see, so it's just like anxiety, so many things happening. So definitely meditation, no question. As the doctors, even scientists prove that, there is less pressure. Less blood pressure means the pressure is what makes mind wavers. The wind. There's a saying, the mind is like the wind, and consciousness is like, mind is like the horse or the wind, and consciousness is riding on that. So when you have too many thoughts, too many wind energy coming up, and that when you settle down, when you meditate, they may settle down, then the minds get calmer. When your minds get calmer, then anxiety get less. When anxiety get less, then you can sleep better, for example. So you need to do, how many minutes you meditate every day?
About, it kind of varies, but I do at least 11 minutes, because yeah, I'm trying to wake up earlier to give myself enough time to meditate before I go to work, but for the time being, that's kind of what.
You should try to do at least half an hour to 1 hour.
Okay.
11 minutes mean 24 hours there is. Out of 24 hours, you are letting your mind distracted for 23 hours and so many minutes. 11 minutes, it's too little.
Okay. That works.
In fact, when you meditate is one thing. When you get out in post-meditation, you should also bring awareness of meditation. Of course, you have to engage. But at the same time, you should let your mind free. Doesn't mean that when you engage, it has to be neurotic, right? It doesn't have to be neurotic. To say that you give up to neurosis, then you're surrendering yourself to a state of mind of which is neurosis then. You can't do that. Really, you can't do that. We don't pay attention to our mind. That's why so much of our anxiety and suffering and confusion coming from that. You can override it. You're more powerful. Your basic goodness is more powerful than your neurosis. So as you sit more and more, your mind gets more humorous, more playfulness, and able to engage with the thing in the right way and not get stuck at the same time. Without that, minds get very uptight. That's the nature of ego mind. Why we say ego is a negative mind? Because it's uptight, it's narrow view. Anything with afflictive emotion, root cause is ignorant, and that has a narrow mind always. No matter what you say, even, let's say, those who are spiritual practice, some, they are spiritual practitioner. And in the Buddha said, those who are monks and nuns, if they think I'm superior than the other people, that's wrong. Because when you have this sense of superiority thought, you are stuck with ego. If you are open and free, it is more creativity there, it's more compassionate, it's more beneficial to yourself with your mind and with others' mind. So you should bring the awareness of meditation even when you are, walking, talking. But of course, that will require some kind of development to happen in your life, otherwise it won't happen right away. So 1 hour meditation may be what you need. And they say the best time, according to teaching, is all the time. But if you prefer a time, morning is a very good time to meditate. Or evening, whenever you are free. First thing when you get up, mind is very fresh. When you first stood up, there's no thought. In fact, you're trying to figure out who you are sometimes. Oh, I like decaf, that's who I am. Oh, I like tea, that's you trying to begin to identify yourself with the tea or something in your room. You say, look at a picture, who am I? Then slowly you build up, oh, this is who I am, and yesterday I did this, and today I'm going to do this, and this is how I'm going to engage with that person in this way, and engage with that person in this way. Then you build up. So therefore, when you first meditate, you should just, first thing in the traditional, there is a practice, cleansing the 3 poison, first thing in the morning. You breathe. This is in the esoteric practice of Buddhism. You expel all the wind of aggression and the emotion of aggression and negativities of aggression. Then the other nostril, all the winds of attachment, its emotion, its possessiveness, and all the negative energies comes with that. Thirdly, the wind of ignorance from both nostrils. And all the ignorance, its emotion, its habit, everything dispelled. Then you sit, you feel very open when you do that. And then there's a practice called Tonglen. You give all your healing, you build a positive mind now. You see, you bring all your positive qualities to other beings. And then you start with your father and mother who you really love, who has given you so much. If it's really not for our parents today, supposing they would have dumped you somewhere, you wouldn't be here. They took care of you, they raised you, they give you education. They were constantly there, day and night for you. And now, what did we really do? What did we do to them, if you really look? What did we do? Did you ever? I think we should really reflect. One's mother who has been there I asked a number of mothers, how was it raising a child? They said they don't have sleep for until 7, 8 years, or at least 5, 6 years when they're raising you up. Day and night concerned, ready to give their life for the child. So much they've done. In return, sometimes we say, oh, I survived my mother for 3 days. I think that's actually not very fair, A little shameful, actually. I think it's a little shocking, to think. We should at least do something for them, to one's parents. So that's lack of caring and compassion in our mind. So therefore, traditionally one starts with parents. One's mother and father who has been there so much for you, you take their suffering. When you breathe in, you take their suffering. When you breathe out, you give their joy to them. Then your minds gradually become more concerned for all beings. All beings are same as me who wants happiness and nobody wants suffering. No difference. But due to their ignorance, they are caught up in this complexity of suffering and confusion. So, you don't say, okay, this person has a right for happiness and this person doesn't deserve. They're all same, big or small, or, what races or sex people are, everyone's same. And then you bring forth, give your healing into white energy healing to all of them. Take their suffering to yourself. And then at the end, you just do that for 5 minutes, and then you just sit openly. Now, don't hang your mind to anything. Just let go. Be natural. Then you stand up. The whole day will be different. How you engage with other people. More positive, more open, less anxiety. That's the power of mind. Versus you get up, rush, and then build the same old mind. A lot of difficulties. You should try that. Thank you. So let's do a world peace prayer. Please distribute the world peace prayer. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rest. 2 more times. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly arise. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience, thus to be. Thank you very much.
Rinpoche, thank you for your teaching. I just have a couple announcements before we go. So some of you may know that Rinpoche has a Facebook page, and we use that to communicate quotes from his teachings. So if you're not aware of that, we invite you to like his page and follow his page. And we also have a Facebook page here at the center where we use that medium to spread information about programs that are coming up. So again, you can like that page or follow that page and get information that way. We're excited about Rinpoche's upcoming teaching schedule. He is teaching this Saturday from 9:30 to 5 on the Nundro practices. We ask that if you're planning to attend, that you come in 30 minutes or so earlier to register. Our website is currently down, and we'll need to do registration here in person. All right? And then on Sunday the 25th from 10 to noon, Rinpoche will be teaching on the reasons for daily meditation. The suggested donation there is $25 for members and $30 for non-members. If you're not a member of Padmasambhava Meditation Center, we invite you to renew or begin your membership with the new website, which will be launching next Wednesday, the 28th. So that's an exciting day for us to see that. And then on the 26th, on Monday, we'll have soak practice starting at 5:30 to set up, and practice will start at 6:30. So we invite you to join us for soak. And if you haven't had that experience, please bring a unopened offering in food, and we'll have a feast offering. Rinpoche, thank you.